Okay, so let's get started. Good evening, everyone. I am Suresh Govindachetty. I am a senior solutions engineer with Sumo Logic, and I am going to walk you through the Kubernetes live demo today. Before we get started with the live demo, a few housekeeping items. There is a Q&A button in the webinar. So please feel free to go to the Q&A and then raise all your questions there. And post the webinar, I will try to answer all of your queries. The recording of this webinar would be available to you once the live demo is over. So you will be getting the content with you to review later. Having said that, let's get started with the demo for today. So enterprises today, if you are handling Kubernetes, microservices, containers, etc., so there are certain challenges in managing, monitoring, and securing the clusters. The typical challenges that we see across our customers is that there are many number of things to monitor. So with microservices being the underlying infrastructure, it can be in hundreds, if not in thousands of thousands of containers, numerous pods, numerous different classification like namespaces, etc. So there are many number of things which needs to be monitored. Also, there are a lot of changing elements here. All these elements are ephemeral. So the cluster dynamically manages the elements depending upon the load. So we scale up the infrastructure, that is scaling down. So the pod which processed your request may not be there the next moment, etc. So there are a lot of moving components, a lot of temporary ephemeral components that needs to be monitored and managed. And the workflow is spread across many different tools. In a traditional infrastructure, traditional monitoring tools, you may not get all your interfaces together. You may have to log into multiple different interfaces, multiple different tools, and you have to do a mental map, or you have to stitch together the various components to visualize and then monitor and troubleshoot the performance issues, scalability issues, etc., which becomes difficult in a environment like Kubernetes. So these produce a lot of challenges in continuously monitoring the Kubernetes environments, scaling them up, troubleshooting it, and then securing it. So what is the solution that we bring in to this? So with Sumo Logic, we collect data in the form of logs, events, metrics, etc. And once we collect all of this particular data, then we run it through a centralized enrichment pipeline. And for collecting all this data, we use the open source based components like FluentBit, FluentD, Prometheus, etc. And the secret sauce is that once we collect this data, we do a consistent metadata enrichment. So we collect the details about the various different uh, containers, where your particular log array metric came from. We collect detail about the container, pod, namespaces, cluster, service, deployment, etc. And then we use a common storage to store all of this particular data. Without a Sumo Logic solution, typically there is a logs and events which are collected by a FluentD, and these are basically having a separate logging backend. And metrics, Prometheus is a standard. So you collect data, the metrics data in the form of Prometheus, and then if it is going to use a separate metric backend, then correlating between this data becomes difficult. You need to do a mental map of yourself, etc. Whereas with Sumo Logic, we provide you a unified experience by seamlessly navigating between logs, metrics, event security, etc. So to collect the data, we generally use the open source based collection tools. So from your Kubernetes cluster, we collect data in the form of logs, events, metrics, and security. And for collecting these data, we use FluentBit for collecting the logs, and we use FluentD for collecting the events, and we use Prometheus for collecting metrics, and then we provide Falco by default for collecting the security events. So by using the open source based tools, so there is a larger community support which is available for these tools, and The secret sauce about collecting all this data is that once we collect the data using this particular tools, we run it through a centralized enrichment pipeline. So for every data that we collect in the form of logs, events, metrics, and security, we consistently tag all of this data, like from which particular container it came from, which particular pod it came from, which particular node it came from, etc. So by consistently tagging all of this data, we can provide you an experience where you can seamlessly navigate between various different hierarchies, various different views. You can move from metrics to logs, logs to metrics, etc., which we will see as part of this particular live demo today. While we provide you the enhanced experience in monitoring your cluster, securing, and troubleshooting, how do we get this collection installed? You don't have to install this component separately. So we support a Helm-based method where you can install all of these components using a single Helm command. So all these components get installed automatically, and we collect all this data, we enrich it, and then we send it to the Sumo Logic as a backend. So once the data reaches Sumo Logic, the visualization side of it begins. So let us jump on to the Sumo Logic interface now. So once you come into the Sumo Logic, you will be seeing an interface similar to this, where we have menu options on the left-hand side. I'm going to show you some interesting options over here. So what we are looking at here is an app catalog. So this is a collection of 200 plus applications. So these applications are built by Sumo Logic, supported by Sumo Logic, and these are completely free. And this app ecosystem keeps growing. We keep adding more and more apps into this particular ecosystem. So what is an application? An application is a group of templates, searches, queries, alerts, etc. And once you bring in your data, you deploy the application on top of it, and then you can see all these dashboards populating with your data. Here you can see this app catalog has various different categories of apps which can support your various use cases. You can see the AWS segment here. So we have an app for most of the AWS services. You can see the CloudTrail, AWS config, the load balancer, both the classic as well as application load balancer. There is a network firewall, security hub, WAF, ECS, CloudFront, DynamoDB, on the security side of it, Amazon Guard Duty, etc. And you can also see a couple of interesting apps here. So there is a CAS AWS Foundations benchmark. So we can help you to benchmark your environment against the CAS AWS Foundations benchmark standards. We also provide global intelligence. As a next generation machine data analytics platform, we have 2000 plus customers who use Sumo Logic platform. So we have intelligence about the common threads, the common usage patterns, etc., which is faced by our customers. So we can benchmark your environment against the global set of standards. These are completely anonymized data. So you can get to know about how your environment is stacked against the global set of similar cohort of customers. We also have an integration with CrowdStrike. We get a threat intel feed from CrowdStrike. This threat intel feed contains information about malicious IP addresses, URLs, domains, #256 values, etc. So we can compare your incoming logs with the threat intel feed, and when we see there are potential threats, vulnerabilities, security incidences, we can immediately alert you. So these are a couple of apps that we have for the AWS. On the compliance and security, we have 50 plus applications where we have ready integrations. You can see there are a lot of components over here from the on-prem as well as the various different cloud elements. We cover things like the VPC flow logs, the security apps that we have for AWS. You can see Active Directory, Aqua Security for the microservices security, a couple of web application firewall options. You can see Carbon Black, the traditional firewalls like Cisco ASA firewall, load balancers like F5, etc. Most of the common databases are covered in the database apps. We have DevOps, where we have support for the ECS, Lambda, Bitbucket, Atlassian, GitHub. You can see most of the elements over here, and we can also see the Kubernetes application along with the control plane apps over here. GCP, IT infrastructure, Kubernetes. So we have support for the Kubernetes, which is going to be the live demo today. And you can see there is a Kubernetes app. So once you bring in the data from your Kubernetes, we can deploy this app, and then we can visualize all of the dashboards. From the security, microservices security aspect, we have Falco, which we provide by default. And we also have partner apps from Aqua Security, JFrog X-Ray, Twistlogs, Stacklogs, etc. So you can integrate these as well along with our Kubernetes offering. Microsoft Azure Cloud, operating systems, you can see the storages, and then the Sumo Logic certified apps, and the common web servers. So once you bring in your data into Sumo Logic, you can go to the manage data collection, and this shows all the different collectors which are set up along with different sources. And you can go to the app, and then you can install your app on top of your data. Say, for example, if I have my CloudTrail data, I can go to my CloudTrail app, and I can say add to library. And all I have to do is I need to tell the system where my CloudTrail logs are. So I'm just going to mention CloudTrail. And once I click add to library, this application will be installed, and all these dashboards will populate with your data. So you can use Sumo Logic for your operational use cases, DevOps use cases, as well as security use cases, including the SIEM. So once all this data comes into Sumo, we need to look at the visualization side of it, and that's where the Explorer-based view comes in. So I'm going to jump onto the Explorer-based view. So now we have set up the data collection for the Kubernetes cluster, and then here I have a demo cluster from where I have data for this particular live demo. So we are looking at a prod01 travellogic.info cluster, and this particular cluster is actually used for demo purposes as dummy data. And here I can see that there is a cluster overview dashboard, and this cluster overview dashboard shows lots of metrics, which shows the health of my cluster. So I can see there are lots of metrics which are being shown over here, and I can look at errors by the namespace. This particular panel shows if there are namespaces which are facing errors, it will show me over here. You can also see there are top 10 security rules getting triggered over here. So this comes from Falco, which we will see little later, the detailed dashboards of Falco. We also have the honeycomb views, where we can look at various different namespaces, and then the various different, I would say, the pods which are running over there. The colors show the health of the various different pods, and I can see a couple of them actually showing up in red. And I can see there are tons of metrics which is being shown over here, which helps to identify if there are any performance issues. I also have a cluster explorer view, which shows me a different view about my cluster, and I can see the various different nodes, the health of the various different nodes, as well as the pods which are running over here. And if I look at this menu options, I can see there is a security overview dashboard here. So if I go to the security overview dashboard, I can see the information about the various different rules which are getting triggered. So by default, we provide Falco as an integration. And if you want, you can use any of our partner integrations as well in the form of Twistlogs, Stacklogs, etc. So you can see the summary of the various different security incidences, etc. And I can also get onto a detailed view about the various different rules which are getting triggered. So here, this particular dashboard shows me the various rules which are getting triggered, and then I can look at tons of other metrics which can help me to look at my security incidences, etc. And I can see a couple of other interesting dashboards here. So I have the control plane dashboards here, and look at my API server, HCD, control manager, scheduler, etc. So let me quickly look at the API server. So the API server dashboard shows me the API server request states by various different clients, the latency by different methods, etc. So I can know the status of my API server. So similar to this, I can get onto my other control plane elements as well. And if you are using a managed a Kubernetes, so we have dashboards for the EKS, GKE, and then you can see the other dashboards, StackRox, Twistlog. So you can see those partner security apps, and then the various different dashboards over here. So having seen that, we all know that Kubernetes has a lot of hierarchies. So here I have a navigation panel where I have a easier explorer based view where I can seamlessly navigate between various different hierarchies of a Kubernetes cluster. So here I can look at, say, for example, I can look at my namespaces, I can look at a service view, node view, deployment view, etc. So let me look at the cluster details over here. And depending upon what options I choose, I can see the relevant details. Say, for example, I want to look at the overall view of my cluster. Then I can actually look at my cluster overview. And I can get onto the various different namespaces as well. Say, for example, I can get onto my prod login namespace. This gives me my details about my namespace. You can see the dashboard drilling down one level deeper now. You can see the cluster details here, and then we are actually in a namespace. And the metrics and the panels that we see here are drilled down to this particular namespace level. And here I also see things like I can get onto my various different deployments, etc. So say, for example, I want to see the health of my node. So I can choose a node view. And the moment I choose a node view for my demo cluster, I can see the various different nodes which are there as part of my cluster. And I can go on to any specific node. And now I am actually looking into the dashboards of my specific node. And I can see the various metrics getting collected over here, which shows the health of my node. So if I want to answer a simple question like, how is my node, is my node healthy, etc., then I would say this is a panel or the dashboard that someone has to come and then look into. But I don't want to see my node details over here. For example, what if I want to see my various different deployments? So I'm going into a deployment view here using the Explorer view. I'm getting onto my demo cluster, and then I can go and see my various different deployments. Say, for example, my prod login namespace, I can see there are various deployments running under this namespace, and I can go onto my any specific namespace details. Say, for example, I go onto my CrowdStrike, and then now I can see my views drilling down into this particular deployment view. And I can see a couple of pods running over here, the health, etc. And if required, I can get onto my pod level as well. Say, for example, I want to get onto my CrowdStrike pod, and then I can look at the details about my specific pod over here. And from here, I can drill down up to my container level, which is part of this particular pod. So the Explorer view helps you to seamlessly navigate, and then you can drill down into your deployments, namespaces, pods, etc. I can also go into a service view. The service view is very helpful where I want to look at specifics of my service. So say, for example, I'm one of the DevOps engineers, and then I'm looking at a couple of my services. I would like to see the status of my services, etc., rather than looking at status at the cluster level, etc. In that case, then I can look at my service view where I can get any of my namespace and look at any of my service. I can look into the status of my service. I can get more details about my service. I can do troubleshootings, etc. So having seen that, how the navigator view helps you to seamlessly navigate between various different views, I want to show you how we can do a quick troubleshooting. So I would like to know the status of my cluster. So I'm going to start with the namespace view. And I'm at the summary of my cluster over here. And then my summary view shows that there are errors which are there by some namespace. And my prod login namespace seems to be facing some issues. And I see some errors here. And I want to drill down deeper. So I'm getting into my prod login namespace. Now I'm inside my prod login namespace. And I can see that there are 7 pods which are running as part of this namespace. And I can see that there are a couple of pods which are actually failed. And I can see the errors by the pods, errors by the containers, etc. And the pods running by deployment actually shows me that there is a carbon black pod, which is actually facing some issues, showing up in red in the color. And I can also see that there is a PagerDuty one, which is actually facing issues. So to take a closer look, I'm going to get into the carbon black pod. So I'm going into the carbon black pod level. And now I can see the details of my carbon black pod. And I can see that there is a pod which is actually showing up as crashed. In fact, there are thousands of restarts which are there for this particular pod. And then if I come down a little bit, I can see the pod state here. And taking a closer look at this, it shows that there is a crash loop back off. Basically, there's a lot of thousands of restarts. The green bar shows that the pod is actually getting started, but then looks like it is actually getting killed. The reason seems to be OEM getting killed. So if I come down a little bit, I would like to take a closer look for a little longer duration. So I can see the same pattern is actually repeating over here. The pod gets started, but then it is getting killed, etc. So drilling down little down, I actually see that the percentage of CPU limits, tons of metrics which is actually being shown over here. And then if we take a closer look about my memory usage, I can see the CPU used, memory usage, and memory usage versus limit versus request. And here I can see that the memory usage is actually exceeding the memory limits which has been set for the pod level. So in this particular case, because I am actually taking up this particular pod is taking up more memory, the cluster is actually going to go ahead and then it is going to kill this particular pod. So having seen that, what is the reason for this particular pod to face issues, I can go ahead and I can take a suitable action, and then I can actually restore this particular pod from crashing. So we see that the metrics are actually able to help us. The metrics acts like a smoke detector. So from the metrics, we can find out why sometimes the pods, containers, etc. services that face issues. Similar to this, we also noticed as part of the cluster overview that there was a error which was noticed in the prod loggen namespace. So I'm getting into the prod loggen namespace. I see that there's a PagerDuty pod as well, which is actually showing up in red. So I would like to go and find out why this particular pod is actually facing issues. So I'm getting onto my PagerDuty pod here. So the PagerDuty pod, and then I see similar sort of stats over here. So this shows there is one pod which is actually showing up in red. Similar to the previous instance, there are thousands of restarts over here. And if I look at the pod state, this shows that there is a crash loop backup, very similar to the earlier case. But then I see that the reason for this is showing up as an error over here. And I take a closer look at the metrics. The CPU seems to be okay. The memory usage seems to be well within limits. I don't see any issues over here at all. So this is the place where we can get onto the logs and then see why this particular pod is actually facing issues. Now, from here, if I want to get to the logs, then all I need to do is that I go to this metrics, and then I can see that I can get onto all my related dashboards over here for troubleshooting, or I can also get onto my all the logs, error signatures, etc. I can also look at the related infrastructure elements here. I can look at the various different statistics. I can get onto my PagerDuty. So I can drill down and I can get onto my related entities, related dashboards, metrics, traces as well, right? So in this particular case, I would like to take a closer look at the logs. So all I'm doing is that I'm just clicking this particular pod and then I'm getting onto my logs over here. Now the system is actually gathering all the logs, and you can see the same time frame is actually used for collecting the logs here. I would like to take a little longer time frame to do my troubleshooting. So I'm taking, say, for example, last 3 hours of logs, and then now you can see the system is automatically picking up the logs from this particular pod over here. And if we take a closer look at this particular logs, I can see some messages showing about the 401 errors, seems to be authentication related errors over here. And if we come down a little bit, I can see some access IDs, etc., which is actually being used. So let me take a closer look at this. So I'm going to copy this access ID, and I'm going to tell my system to find out what happened across this particular access ID. So now the system is picking up the logs related to this particular access ID over here. And now I see there are a couple of results. I can go through all of the results, but I can also do another thing where I can quickly summarize all of this and then view the summary results. So that's where the log reduce function comes in play. So log reduce is a patented technology from Sumo Logic, and what log reduce does is that it takes thousands of log messages. It groups them by related patterns, which we call it as signatures. Fortunately, in this particular event, there are only 72 results, but in your production environment, it can be like hundreds or in fact thousands of logs. So you can use a log reduce function, which can group all these logs into patterns, which we call it as signatures. So here we can see that there are around 66 messages, and these are grouped together. The variable values are shown as a star here, but all of these values, all of these log messages are of a similar type with a couple of variables. Here, there is only one variable over here. Taking a closer look at this, now I need to look at only one page of summary, and I can see here that there is a SOC team actually who has actually deleted this particular user. So this particular key does not exist anymore, and maybe that seems to be the reason why this particular pod is actually facing issues. So I can now get back to the team and I can take the remedial action to bring back this particular service live again. Right, so we looked at two good examples of how we can do troubleshooting using the Explorer view, where we made use of the metrics over here, and then we are able to identify the memory limits creating problem for one of the pods. And then we are also able to look at another pod where we are able to seamlessly pivot between the logs to the metrics. And we also saw the options where we can easily pivot to the related infrastructure, related dashboards, as well as we can get onto the deployments, namespaces, pods, etc. from this singular view. So all this is made possible due to the secret sauce, where we consistently tag all the data that we collect with the container name, pod, the deployment, etc. So having seen all of this, you may be asking me a question, Suresh, all this is nice and good, but then I want to add my own custom dashboards, right? So I have my own use cases that I would like to track, I would like to get alerted on. So how do I create those dashboards? So that is where I'm going to show you how you can create your own dashboards, and then you can link it to this Explorer-based view. So I'm clicking, or I'm starting a new dashboard over here. I'm getting on to, say, for example, a time series. And I can look at both my logs as well as metrics. I'm getting onto my metrics over here. And here I'm going to look at, say, for example, let us look at memory. So I'm going to look at my container memory usage bytes, and I can actually tell the system my cluster, which is my demo cluster here. So I can see it automatically populates it for me. I can just choose this, and I can add some operators. I can look at the average by, say, for example, a container, right? So this actually gives me a chart, and I can do a lot of other things over here. So I can go to this particular panel. I can see the details here. You can modify all of this. You can see there are a lot of options for them over here. So let me get onto this panel now, and then I can go ahead, and I am actually going to add it to a dashboard. So let me click add to the dashboard, and I can rename this dashboard. We'll say this as okay, it is demo dashboard or my custom dashboard. I can name it anything I want, my custom dashboard. And this is my dashboard over here. And now I can add more panels if I want. I can go here, I can add other values. You can see there are a lot of other options where I can create, for example, a geo view, single value panels, honeycombs, a lot of options that you can create your own dashboards over here. So now that I am done with my dashboard, so I am actually going to go back to my demo cluster again, and then I'm okay. So I'm going to open up my dashboard again. I will my custom dashboard. I'm actually going to link this to my cluster now. So I am going to create a stack linking, and for creating the stack linking, I go back to my cluster, and then the cluster is prod 01, and I can add a lot of other values as well if I want, other panels as well. So I am actually adding this particular dashboard to my cluster. Now that I have added my dashboard, I will go back to my cluster now. New my Explorer cluster. Now my Explorer, and I can see my Prod 01 TribleLogic info cluster here, and I can look at my custom dashboard is showing up here. So here you can see the dashboard is showing up over here. So I can build my own custom dashboards, and I can link them to the Explorer view. So I can seamlessly navigate to the dashboards that I create as part of this particular cluster. So we covered a lot of content today, and let us quickly summarize. So we saw the Sumo Logic platform where you can collect data. So we saw an app catalog where there are a lot of pre-built apps. So you can bring in your data, you can make use of the pre-built apps, so you can realize value out of Sumo Logic quickly. We saw how we can seamlessly navigate between various different hierarchies within the Kubernetes cluster. So we saw the four different views: the node view, namespace view, service view, deployment views, etc. And we saw two scenarios where in scenario one, we did a troubleshooting and we made use of the metrics providing us the signals here to show where the issue is. And we also looked at scenario two where we were able to move from metrics, we moved on to the logs, and then we were able to find why this particular pod is actually facing issues. We saw how we can create our own custom dashboards, and then we can link it to the navigator view. So having seen all of this, security plays an important role. So we saw how we integrate security as part of the cluster. So we provide Falco by default, and you can add your own custom rules as well to the Falco. And we also have partner apps where we can integrate with Twistlock, StackRox, Aqua, JFrog, etc. And we provide you a view from the service perspective. So the traditional infrastructure based monitoring tools, they are complex. You need to make a mental map of things yourself. It is slow, and then it provides a disconnected view. Whereas with Sumo Logic, we can look at the service-centric point of view where we can aggregate all the elements belonging to a service. So you can look at your service-specific views and dashboards. So it becomes simpler for you to understand your infrastructure elements, becomes easier for you to correlate them, find and troubleshoot issues, and you can seamlessly navigate between various different elements for your troubleshooting, monitoring, and then security, etc. So with Sumo Logic, we provide you discoverability where you can collect the right set of data. Using a single Helm command, you can get the data collection installed. We provide you observability through the Explorer views as well as the various different dashboards. And then we integrate security as part of the Kubernetes cluster. So that's pretty much what I wanted to show you as part of the live demo today. Feel free to put in your questions here in the Q&A section, and then I can get that answered for you. There is a question on who is the target audience for this live demo. So if you are monitoring your, if you're managing a Kubernetes infrastructure, if you have microservices, if you are evaluating a solution for your Kubernetes, etc., and that would be the audiences where this particular live demo will be helpful for you to answer those questions. The second question we have is, what is the database that we use for storage? So Sumo Logic is hosted. We are a next generation machine data analytics platform. We are built out of AWS. So we are hosted out of AWS. So we have various instances across the globe. And for India customers, we have an instance in India, which is hosted out of AWS Mumbai. So the solution that we have built for uh, these Kubernetes, these Sumo Logic as a platform, this is not based on any open source tools or something like that. So we have built this platform from scratch, and we use various different elements within AWS to build and offer this as a service. Um, a couple of questions about how Kubernetes is related to Dockers, VMware, etc. So you can run your Kubernetes cluster. The Kubernetes is a management engine for your microservices, and this can run on either on your own data centers, or you may be running it on a cloud. It can be on a managed service, etc. But then the solution that we provide um, helps you to address all of those different use cases. Um, do you have any integration with KubeCost? I do not have an answer right away, but we can get back to you post this webinar on this. There is a question on what is the difference between microservices versus monolithic approach. Microservices basically breaks your application into, in fact, thousands of smaller components. So you can look at providing a continuous service for your customers, where you can easily scale up your infra. You can de-link the various different elements within your application, etc. So the microservice is a modern way of building apps compared to a monolithic based approach. There is a question on how do we monitor the services availability or the uptime metrics of those services. Yes, so you can monitor the services availability. You can set up alerts. So you can set up alerts like, say, for example, when the service goes down. You can also set up alerts when certain thresholds get breached. Say, for example, the CPU utilization crosses 80%, etc. If there is no data from any service. So you can set up various different alerts through which you can monitor, you can create alerts, you can troubleshoot, etc. for all of your services within your cluster. There is a question on how is the solution priced. So with Sumo Logic, we price a solution based on the amount of data that you send it into the platform. We don't charge you based on the number of nodes, number of microservices, number of events, etc. It purely is based on how much amount of data that you send into Sumo. The data is in the form of typically logs, metrics, events, etc. And these, along with the retention, decides how much is the platform going to basically cost you. So we can get in touch with you to provide you more details if you let us know, like what's your cluster, how much data that you expect out of your cluster, etc. Is this recording available post the event? Yes, post the live demo is over, we will be sharing the recording with all of you. So you can review this particular data. You can run this across your teams, and you can always get back to us in case you have any questions. There is a question on how do we integrate Sumo Logic with Kubernetes cluster. So we provide a easy Helm-based method where we can, with a single command, you can basically integrate your Kubernetes cluster with Sumo Logic. So we install the open source based collection tools. We install the FluentBit, FluentD, Prometheus, Falco, etc. And you can customize this particular deployment as well as per your requirements. Um, how do we support multi-tenant and multi-cluster observability use cases? So in this particular demo, I had one demo cluster. So I had this prod01 travellogic.info cluster, and you can also see the other clusters being shown over here. So if you have multiple clusters like dev cluster, prod, etc., then you can bring in all your cluster data into Sumo Logic. With respect to multi-cloud deployments, we support the multi-cloud deployments. I showed you the app catalog. I can show you the collection diagram here. So we can collect data pretty much from anywhere. So we can collect data from on-prem. We also support data collection from cloud environments like AWS, Azure, GCP, and this can be multi-cloud deployments as well. So we can support on-prem, hybrid environments, cloud, as well as multi-cloud deployments, microservices-based infra, as well as the SaaS platforms. Is there any demo for integration of Sumo into Kubernetes? So I did a demo of the Explorer-based view, but we have detailed documentation on how we can do the integration with Sumo Logic with Kubernetes. Basically, the data collection part of it, we have very detailed documentation. If you go to help.sumologic.com, and you can see the solution details here. So I'm just showing you how you can get the details about this integration. So I will put Kubernetes, and you can see the Kubernetes solution that we have along with all the details. So you can, there is a detailed section about how to set up collection for Kubernetes, how you can monitor the Kubernetes effectively, as well as the various different options that we have. Most of them I have covered it as part of the live demo today. I have posted the solution link on the chat, so you can refer this whenever you find time. Let's wait for a couple of more minutes to see if there are any more questions coming in. There is a question on what is orchestration in Kubernetes. I am not sure what you mean by orchestration here. The Kubernetes is the orchestration engine for your various microservices. What we provide on top of the Kubernetes is that we provide you the ability to monitor your Kubernetes clusters. We can do effective troubleshooting. We can help you to seamlessly navigate between the various different hierarchies. We have entity-based troubleshooting where you can navigate between logs, metrics, the related dashboards. You can also navigate to the traces. You can navigate to logs, etc., from the dashboard, the troubleshooting dashboards that you have. We also have security integrations where we provide Falco by default, and we also have partner apps through which you can integrate the security tools like the twist locks, stack rocks, JFrog X-ray, Aqua, etc. Is there any certification available for the Sumo Logic Kubernetes solution? Yes. So you can go to your account, your Sumo Logic account. If you do not have an account, you can always sign up for a trial account. We provide 30-day free trial. So let me show you how you can create a trial account. You can go to sumologic.com, and on the website, you can see there is a start free trial. And once you click the start free trial, you can see you can have an option where you can provide in your business email ID. You can choose the various different regions depending on your data residency requirements. You can choose AWS Mumbai to keep your data within Mumbai. And once you sign up, you will get an email. And once you get an email, you have an activation link, and when you activate, your account is ready. And once your Sumo Logic account is available, you can go to the Sumo Logic account. You can see a home tab here, and here you can see certification. And here we provide you options where you can certify yourself on the various different Sumo Logic, I would say, technologies. So you can get certified, and you can see this launches a separate, I would say, training portal or a training tab, and you can see the various certifications that we provide. So I would recommend you to start with fundamentals followed by search mastery, and then look at administration. There is a Kubernetes certification available, security, etc. So you can say, for example, you can get into Kubernetes, and you can see there is a small, I would say, hands-on lab. You can do the hands-on lab, and then post that you can immediately write an exam, and then you can get Sumo Logic certified. And the Sumo Logic certification is completely free. So I highly encourage you to create a trial account where you can try Sumo Logic. There are a lot of interesting use cases that we support, starting from monitoring and troubleshooting your various different infrastructure elements, services, etc. You can bring in your Kubernetes cluster logs. You can address your SIM use cases, security use cases with Sumo Logic. So you can go to sumologic.com, create a free account, and then you can try out Sumo Logic for 30 days. And if you have specific use cases, please do reach back to us, and then we can work with you where we can create a focused proof of value engagement, where we can showcase you how we can provide you a solution that meets all of your requirements. So with that, thank you very much for joining the Kubernetes live demo today. Please feel free to get back to us if you have any questions. Wishing you all a very good day.